What Nakamoto created was not a new idea. The same cypherpunks that were part of the mailing list had been working on creating virtual cash since the 90s. The same cypherpunks that were part of the mailing list had been working on creating virtual cash since the 90s. Every effort had so far failed. But this time was going to be different. And then, in April 2011, he sent the last note, saying he had to move on to other things. He never communicated with the members of the mailing list again. To this day, he has yet to be identified.
Welcome back, everyone. I know how you wanted to start this one off. Got some fresh conspiracy today. So as you heard there, Satoshi left April 2011, which is kind of funny because Tyler graduated 2 months after that. Not saying Tyler's Satoshi, but maybe someone in that class is. Who knows? You know, gotta keep it open. What I think we should touch on first is about the Cypherpunks. The Cypherpunks were founded by Tim May here. He was one of the co-founders. It appears he died in 2018 at the age of 66. But he was a major influence on Bitcoin and WikiLeaks. And note, this is probably a weird jump for quite a few of you here. Cypherpunks right there. Yeah, well, thankfully I am a millennial, so I understand how file systems work. Apparently Gen Z kids don't, but that's a totally different side note. You can pause it and read it there if you want. But back to these file systems. This is something that me and Unusual Due Diligence were speaking about. I think it'll help if we hear from him first on one of his latest videos.
But I wanted to take a broader view of it. That's in part because after several days of chasing MIT connections and conspiracies with Levi the Giant, something supersized dawned on me. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is just down the way from Boston, there's a laboratory called CSAIL. That's CSAIL. That stands for Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory.
After watching his video, I noticed after the fact that this is a csail.mit.edu domain. I'm surprised I'm actually able to see everything on an index, but as you can see here, a lot of the dates are pretty old. This Cypherpunks one was 2018 was last modified, and using the Wayback Machine, it looks like they just changed this name here. It looks like they added the removed part. A couple of the images here, especially this crypto manifesto from Tim May. Because when we get really deep in the woods with these conspiracy theories, the highlighted sentence here, the focus has until now been on academic conferences in Europe and US, conferences monitored closely by the National Security Agency. This was a whole movement in the early 90s, kind of faded out in the early 2000s about cryptography, especially because encryption was new. We have experienced encryption most of our lives on the internet, but back then this was a very new technology. And also this National Security Agency bit, because when I was speaking to Unusual Due Diligence, we noticed that one of the papers actually had a CSAIL URL. I noticed that here in this directory, right down here at the bottom, money, back in 1997. Again, I haven't had time to go through all of it. I was just looking to see what all might interest me. In the money, I found the NSA Mint paper. See, this was the version that was on the csail.mit.edu server. And I also noticed this OTA money laundering back in 1995. So this here is only the first like 15 pages. It's broken up. Not really sure why. You can see there's the forward advisory panel. But I do have another copy of this. As you can see here, this is one that I looked up and downloaded off of a government website. This was September 95. This paper also speaks about digital cash. This is back whenever DigiCash first came out. It was an early form. It wasn't decentralized at all. It didn't really do anything and never really made it. And I'm also really glad they call it a wallet and not an electronic purse. This is talking about how digital cash would be stored. And again, this whole document's about money laundering. And when you go back to that article written by Timothy C. May, the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto, you can see the highlighted sentence that the state will of course try to slow down or halt the spread of this technology, citing national security concerns, use of the technology by drug dealers and tax evaders, and fears of societal disintegration. I wouldn't say it doesn't have that tone. It's very toned down and mellow. It's talking more about the potential for the money laundering through there. And I thought just for giggles, this money laundering document, I would just go ahead and see who Andrew W. Wyckoff was, since the program director. I'm not really going to do any LinkedIn on this episode because of how time consuming it will be. Because there's going to be a lot of people named. I have my notes, which I will probably put in at the end or somehow in this video. so that way you can see their sort of resume. I just picked out the parts that were the highlight and relevant to this video. But anyways, Mr. Wyckoff here. Hey, MIT, Internet Policy Research Initiative. Now this is an odd one because his profile is on this site, and this is sort of like a hidden page on this website. I just acquired it through a simple Google search. I just searched his name and MIT. And another interesting thing was one of these old Who is Satoshi sort of rumors. You can see here he sent out a coded message, highlighted the parts about Israel, the Chancellor, and 99 pence, and Salman Rushdie. And if you scroll down this article, you can see here that it actually tells you where that came from. That actually came from the Genesis block, first block of Bitcoin, and it's been coded in there. If any of this conspiracy about who Satoshi could be related to a group. So I thought I'd look for some of these terms in the course of my research here. And I figured where better to start off than looking at some of these other zero-knowledge proofs. For example, StarkWare here, they developed Stark-based. ZK Sync is Snark-based, has their own standalone permission validity rollup, and a permissionless decentralized ZK rollup. So it means fees are really, really cheap on there. And if we go over the customer testimonials, you can see here Immutable uses it. Because I was watching some interviews, they're talking about that the Stark is actually superior for NFT transactions. It makes them a lot quicker, a lot cheaper, and they can do more things with the marketplace now. Because I don't know about you, but browsing NFTs, you can't really get good filters, and if you can, it doesn't really make sense. But Immutable is trying to change all that. And they're changing that with the GameStop wallet. Again, if you don't know about this, that Immutable X and LRC have sort of teamed up. As you can see here, there's their logos, making an amazing NFT marketplace for the mainstream, the actual people in real life. Mass adoption. Because now they can do that with these Starks and the Immutable X technology, plus Loopring being a ZK rollup. As you can see here, Argent wallet, which I've been using, I do love the ZK sync fees, but it looks like they are starting to support StarkNet, and even their newsletter here talks about the StarkNet growth. StarkNet is seeing exponential growth. The Argent X wallet here, that is the wallet specifically for StarkNet, and it's already done over 120,000 downloads. Received numerous updates, and the latest has been 3D NFTs. So that's showing that the NFT marketplace is still expanding, especially on this side, where the software side, with new wallets and the 3D NFTs. And these are definitely three takeaways that I agree with, especially that Web3 is empowering creators globally, crypto is having a real-world impact, and Ethereum is the market leader. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any sort of hard direct link between Loopring and MIT, except that Loopring was at MIT meetups, and I know for a fact, as you can see here, there's the Loopring and MIT Bitcoin Club. And that was again back 2018, 4 years ago. But hey, Loopring's been around that long, they've been making good connections, they're doing great. Now, to hop back to StarkWare here, we can go back to the About Us, and this is where it gets very, very interesting. See Eli here? Eli is a co-inventor of the Stark, Fry, and Zcash protocols, and a founding scientist of the Zcash company. Over the years, he held research positions at the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton, Harvard, and MIT. So we have Eli. We have Yuri, who's also a co-founder and also MIT. Even founded a MIT spin-off company. And under the scientific advisors, we also have another co-founder, Alessandro Cese. I hope I'm saying that right, probably butchered it horribly. And as you can see here, he's co-inventor of Zcash protocol, also a founding scientist of Zcash, and studied and graduated with degrees in computer science and math, and even got his doctorate in computer science from MIT. Now, this is probably a part where I might just put my notes up because 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 more MIT in here. Just even right, Shafi Goldwasser, just absolutely impressive background. Yeah, and she's also the co-inventor of interactive proofs and zero-knowledge proofs. It's ridiculous all the awards she has. It's amazing. You know what we talked about a lot there? There did seem to be a lot of Zero Cash, Zcash, and StarkWare as well. So how about we go check and see what the founding Zcash scientists are up to these days? Well, as you can see, there's Eli and Alessandro. The most interesting one here is Madars with the MIT DCI, aka Digital Currency Initiative. Madars has been here at MIT for about 10 years, PhD in computer science, won numerous awards, and co-invented Zerocash and founded Zcash. Here he is again under the Digital Currency Initiative. He's one of a handful to the actual team right now. Here's the team, and no, I'm not going to go in a line and start doing every single one of them. What you just need to know here is you got 1, 2, 3 Bitcoin Core developers and 2 CBDC software engineers. So that's pretty impressive, but I found something even more impressive the more I scrolled down. You can see here Taj Dreja. Not really sure if I pronounced that right, but I think I did. And I think he can best be introduced here with MIT Bitcoin Expo 2021 video.
Next up is another alumni of, or another member of the MIT DCI, Taj Dreja, who is known as the co-inventor of the Lightning Network and is a Bitcoin developer working on scalability, most notably his project Utrixo. Thank you for joining us, Taj.
Cool. So hi, everyone.
And just in case you don't believe me and you think MIT might be lying, or who knows why, I accidentally ran across that one. I just sort of remembered this name on the Lightning Network white paper. And back under the Digital Currency Initiative, right under collaborators, you have the alumni. And one of the alumni I sort of noticed here, Christian Catalini. Well, I remember that name from Chainlink here. If you go to chain.link/team, go down and see here that they proudly boast that they've been in MIT's Technology Review, Forbes, and CoinDesk publications. But if you keep scrolling, this section right here is really interesting. For example, there's Andrew Miller, Zcash, Tezos. But here's that Christian Catalini again. Co-creator of Diem, founded MIT's Crypto Economics Lab, and presents his work at the Federal Reserve Bank, World Economic Forum, International Money Fund, and more. So the Diem association was with that Facebook stablecoin that they were trying to make, Diem, here on Silvergate's website. They actually purchased Diem back in 2022, and they're doing commercial scale. As you can see here with the Silvergate Exchange Network, it enables our digital currency and institutional investor clients to send US dollars and euros 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But that's only between their Silvergate accounts and the accounts of other Silvergate clients. Because as I touched on in the last video, there was sort of some privacy concerns, I believe, with the Diem, or originally Libra, then it sort of morphed into Diem. And I know Diem had some trouble with regulators before it got sold to Silvergate. And you can see here with Silvergate Capital's stablecoin initiative going. Again, this was just a little over a month ago that it was published. But as you can see here, they're continuing to work toward it. The problem is it's just sort of some technical difficulties, regulatory matters. But they're still trying to make it happen. And they're hoping to have one sometime this year, at least a stablecoin. And as you can see, they're still spending the money. I mean, $30 million in 2022. Last year it was only $8.4 million, but that's what they're anticipating on it costing. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's just been some absolute craziness. As you can see here, it's just been, every time I would, even when I started this video, I didn't know about that whole directory thing until I magically typed something into Google and that directory popped up too, and I started exploring it. And I mean, it's just been one rabbit hole after the other. I think it's safe to say that there is a non-0% chance that maybe MIT has something to do with crypto and Bitcoin, especially the scaling now. We've seen this. But hey, I'm just going to keep looking at this and maybe buying a few dozen packages of it.